Hey everyone, this is Curb Knight bringing you another standard match. So today's match is actually from the set 9 meta, but we are featuring two decks that really haven't honestly changed since basically set 8 or so, which is going to be on the left we do have Chronojet Dragon, and on the right we have myself playing Thegria once again. So this is from that same day of the Thegria versus Java video. Anyways, getting into the match, looks like I am going to be going first, just riding into that grade 1 Maple. Chronojet's just going to be calling out that Zargon, putting it behind the Vanguard, which is pretty typical. If you ever play Chronojet and you're playing Zargon in the build, which I really honestly think you should, it's a pretty good card, where it basically just fuels your GGs. You always just want to call it down. So I'm gonna be doing that. Obviously we don't want to guard, and it makes sense because if I were to put down a 15k, that would be a 1 to pass, and as we did see there, a draw trigger was hit, so that would have actually gone through whether I had 1 to pass it or not. So we are just going to keep going. Now Thegria is a little bit of a vanilla deck, or doesn't really do too much on the first couple of turns, but we are seeing Chronojet actually going for a little bit of a rush strategy here, actually calling out an upstream dragon, thankfully hitting into a defensive for myself, and Chronojet is not going to be hitting into a defensive. However, that grade 2 is actually going to be able to hit because it does get an extra 5k when it gets boosted, so hitting that 23, which is a pretty good number. Anyways, riding into that grade 3 Thegria, obviously the light one, we're going to check that top 5, and we are once again going to be seeing the order off the top, because if you remember from the last video, the grade 2 lets you search out any card with either Maple or Thegria in its name, and the grade 3 order does in fact actually have Thegria in its name. I think it's called like Oath of Vengeance Thegria. I'm just gonna go ahead and play it because we always do. I kind of wish that card drew you a card when you played it, like a lot of other set orders do, but because like in this sense it's just a straight minus and you don't have any way of doing anything with it, and it's basically just makes it that much harder for Thegria to survive in the early game, because once Thegria gets to like, turn 4 is when things actually start popping off. But we'll continue and see what we do. We did start off with a Drilling Angel, putting the Dark Thegria that we discarded for Ride deck into the Soul, meaning that off this Light Thegria, we can actually call 2 cards from the top 5 cards of our deck. However, as we're going to see, it seems like there's really only one good call target among those top 5, so honestly putting that Dark Thegria really didn't make that much of a difference, which is one of the reasons I'm mildly considering cutting Drilling Angel from the new set 11 Thegria, but we'll have to see. I have to do a lot more testing and kind of like take a look at some other lists to see how Thegria is looking after that set 11. But anyways, I think we're still thinking about whether we want to use that skill, because we do have the grade 3 in the Soul, so we could theoretically cycle a little bit, but it looks like we're gonna opt not to and just swing for a 18k, swing the Vanguard, hit into a heal trigger, which is very nice, and a painkiller. So this situation currently is not too bad for me. I know Chronojet is going to be going into his first stride, but honestly Chronojet's first stride is not the scary part about Chronojet. It's honestly, once you get into the late game, they have rear guards that are stupidly high numbers for no reason, which is why you really need to be able to clean out Chronojet as quickly as humanly possible if you're playing against the deck, because the longer you let the game go on, the more power they amass, and the harder it will be for you to guard any of their attacks. So obviously just gonna be striding into that Fate Rider. I believe we only have 1 damage here, so we're going to choose obviously not to use the Chronojet Dragon's stride skill. And bottom dex on it, which is pretty decent. I believe I don't know exactly, because we guarded the first couple of swings. But anyways, we're going to be going into the battle phase, just swinging with that grade 2 Diablos for 23, going to be blocking with a 15k guard for 28, swinging the Fate Rider at the Vanguard, putting the GG back in order to call over the grade 2 another upstream. So now we got that nice double upstream, and we're just gonna have to see where this play continues. So it looks like we don't have a PG, so we're gonna opt to not guard it, hitting into a crit, giving the power to the rightmost, hitting into a draw, giving the power to the rightmost upstream, and then hitting into a front. So triple triggers, but we're gonna check my damage. First is a heal, second is a front, so already plus 20k to my Vanguard. So my Vanguard's already at 33, so even though we did hit 3 triggers, Think this is still going to be a 55k attack, but because I hit 2 triggers, that's theoretically only, I think that's 25k guard still, so probably not going to guard it. But hit into another heal trigger, so we started this turn at 1 damage, and after taking a double crit attack as well as another one, we are still only at 2 damage. So giving the power to my Vanguard, we're at 43. So even though this upstream does have 20, let's see, it's 20k base with its skill on the crest, plus a 13k boost, that should be 33. Oh, and the front trigger is 43. My Vanguard is at 43 itself, meaning that this is only a 5k guard, so we're just going to be intercepting with that Drilling Angel. So definitely a very interesting turn there. We saw basically every single card that was either damage check or drove check turn into a trigger, so very interesting. That could have gone a lot worse, but obviously it's not, and we're only at 2 damage. So we're going to be Persona riding into that Dark Thagria. We do have the order up, so we will be drawing 2 cards instead of 1, and the front row is going to be getting plus 15. And we're going to be seeing some of those really nice numbers coming out. At this point, I'm thinking this man has a column of GG and upstream because he didn't use the upstream skill to put it back to the bottom and call something else out. So to me, that looks like an irresistible column because those are both 2 very essential Chrono Jet combo pieces. So I'm actually going to commit a trigger down from my hand in order to actually pop the entire column, thanks to the fact that I have the Light Thagria. And I believe we're just going to be calling a Maple and a Painkiller from hand. I don't think I have very many good cards to call. I'm going to be drive checking into, what is that critical trigger, giving the, I believe we gave all effects to the Vanguard, because obviously we are going to be restanding here with the Counterblast 1 and Discard 1, swinging at the Vanguard for 28. I believe we gave power to Maple, but critical to the Vanguard. So 28 is still a very nice magic number. We still have 1 drive check, unfortunately not hitting into anything. Swinging in the Maple for that nice 33 already with just 1 trigger. So a very nice number. And of course, we do have the perfect Maple column, which is basically what you want to be going for. Because if in case you don't know, you can actually use Maple's skill first to add back the Light Thagria by Soul Blasting the grade 1, grade 2 from your soul. And then Maple actually puts itself into the soul instead of going into the drop zone. And then at that timing, you can actually use Painkiller's skill to Soul Blast out the Maple and then retire and draw a card. So once again, Thagria is one of those decks that can effectively clear its board, depending on how much stuff you call out and what kind of things you are calling. So who knows, maybe it has a chance in the new meta for set 10, but it is kind of slow, and a lot of decks can already do things by the time they get to grade 3. So there's that balancing out. If you feel like you want to test out Maple, all the more credit to you. I'm pretty sure you have more faith in the deck than I do right now. So anyways, going back to Chrono Jet, obviously just starting into another Fate Rider, calling out another one of those Diablos Boy, and I believe that is a column of upstream along with a Jewel Core. Actually going to be calling out the OT from hand, probably trying to be a little bit cheeky and putting it back into deck, swinging the Upstream Dragon at the Vanguard for 38, which is a very nice magic number. Going to opt to not guard that just because, you know, that's a lot of guard to commit in order to just like guard 1 attack. Even though that is probably going to be the weakest of most of the attacks this turn, just because Chrono Jet Dragon has just like insane scaling as the turns progress. But I believe at this point we've effectively bulked up with Thagria, so we probably are holding on to quite a big amount of shield, as well as a couple of PGs, as we are going to be seeing the Fate Rider swing at the Vanguard, time leaping that over trigger, which maybe is a little bit of a mistake because you don't get any value out of it because we didn't swing with it. So that means that you're not only losing the 5k boost, but we're actually losing the 5k boost that we would have gotten on the Diablos Boy for that boost. But anyways, we are going to be swinging. I'm just going to be hitting it with the Elementaria, so free PG. Actually called out another Jewel Core. Looks like we are going to be hitting into that OT that we put back in deck, so I guess it was the correct play. But anyways, that's definitely very scary because now the Vanguard is going to be at +1 crit and plus 10,000. Not as like effective as it could be because a lot of times in Chrono Jet you're just PGing the Vanguard. So we'll see how this progresses. Gonna be swinging with a full Jewel Core column. I think we saw another Jewel Core in the drive check, so that means we're playing a total of 3 Jewel Core, which is definitely a little bit of an interesting deck building choice, considering most people will play maybe 1 at the most, maybe 2. I don't think I've really ever seen 2, but anyways, it's definitely working out now, I guess. Gonna be guarding for, I believe that was 48. No, it was probably just 40 because that was 41. Gonna be swinging the 100 million. Not gonna waste the PG on that since it is only 1 damage, so going 2-4 and riding into that Light Thagria. So giving the front row plus 15, calling out the Maple from the drop zone now that we do have it in there, as well as calling out the grade 1 Maple because it was not in the drop zone last turn because it was still in the soul. We hadn't soul blasted it out with the Maple. So it looks like we are going to be using that Light Thagria skill, checking top 5. Hopefully we can get enough stuff to basically fill out our board. But unfortunately, once again, it looks like there's only one good call target, which is going to be that second Maple. But, you know, attackers are attackers. You do really need it. She's going to be swinging for 25 anyway, which is still a 15-point guard. So not bad. Calling out another Painkiller Angel. She's going to be swinging at the Vanguard for a nice 38. Thanks to that Maple's extra 5k, giving it a 13k boost. Guarding for 28. I'm going to be choosing not to just to take it because that is a very nice magic number. The Vanguard also swinging for a very nice magic number for 28. Going to be guarding for a 1 to pass, which is very interesting. First check, nothing. Second check, critical trigger. Going to be giving all the effects to the Thagria, and of course that is going to be the match. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things like, comment, subscribe.